I found some interesting scary stories from Reddit and I thought it would be fun to read them to you guys. So, if you are not a fan of horror stories or anything paranormal, please skip this video. But if you're like me and love everything that has anything to do with the paranormal activity, I hope you enjoy. Oh, and also my cats are in the room, so if you hear little footsteps, don't worry, they're not part of the stories. It's the cats stepping, wandering around because they just had to come here when I'm filming. Let's see how it goes. But oh, hello Milo. Hello Milo. Okay, he is good with the theme, a black cat for Halloween. This first story is a little shorter and the next one is a little lengthier. So let's start. This is named I Felt Something Was Going to Happen Right Before It Did. I tried to explain this story to myself in many rational ways, but haven't been able to find one. Back when I was in college, I was downstairs in my family home making food late at night. After I made my food, I went to turn the kitchen light off, but got an odd feeling and decided to keep the light on and just go upstairs and keep it on for the night. Well, I had a feeling it was going to just shut off, which it did. As I am at the bottom of the steps, I just hear the light switch flip down. I ran upstairs and locked myself in my room. I had a feeling it was going to happen, and it did. The next day, I attempted to switch the light switch half down because I convinced myself it must have been like that and just gravity pushed it all the way down. I was unable to get it to stay. I still can't explain it. I also wanted to believe it was electrical, but the whole switch physically was moved. I wouldn't have gave it much thought if it wasn't for the overwhelming energy that surrounded me before it happened. I also would like to add, I did not get an evil or bad feeling from this experience. I have had those encounters and this energy was not that. No one has died in my house as it was built recently. The next one is named Heard Man Saying, Help Me in Yard in Middle of Night. For some background information, my mom told me this story. We are in Oregon, and where we live specifically is surrounded by trees and wildlife. We have a decent-sized yard, 2.5 acre was around 2 weeks ago. It was dark outside. My mom was taking the dogs out for the last time before bed. A little bit further down our driveway, like 10-15 steps, there is a shed, and a few feet beyond that is a fence that leads into our neighbor's property. It just looks like a forest. She said at this time she had one earbud in and she was listening to an audiobook. She thought she heard a man's voice, but her brain hadn't registered it, and the dogs didn't react. She heard it a second time a few seconds later, and she said she thought she heard it say, "Help me." She took her earbud out and focused, and she heard it clear as day. "Help me." The worst thing about this is she described the voice as perfectly calm and level, not raising its voice, no urgency in its tone. When she repeated what she heard, her voice was flat. She calls out to it, "Hello, are you okay?" etc., flashing her light back in the trees, yet she sees nothing. After a few seconds, she hears something big crashing through the woods. This is when the dogs finally reacted and began barking. She said it didn't sound bipedal. I'm sorry, I have no idea how to pronounce that. And sounded too big to be a human. This is when she went back inside. I remember she immediately came into my room. I was watching a video on TV and asked, "Did the video you're watching say 'help me' at any point?" I remember being confused and kind of annoyed, so I was like, "No." She then went and got my dad, and they both went out again to look closer. Thankfully, my mom didn't walk closer when she was alone, but I know she did call out, which isn't good. Apparently, it looked like the neighbor's house that was beyond the fence was without power, if that's relevant. Me, personally, last year, me and my boyfriend heard a sound in the same area beyond that fence, farther from the shed, when it was getting dark outside. It sounded kind of like a gasp, like when you breathe in when you're choking on something. It didn't sound human though. It repeated multiple times and began to get closer as branches snapped towards us. We booked it out of there. Again, like my mom, I didn't see anything. We both spent a while after looking up all the animal sounds and calls it could have been, and nothing came even close to matching. I have no idea what my mom heard. A fair distance away we have some odd neighbors that are known for stealing people's stuff, screaming loudly at each other at night, being in and out of prison, etc. That's my mom's most rational explanation. However, that may be worse than something paranormal inhuman. stranger to these things, although stuff has calmed down a fair amount compared to years ago. Me, my mom, and my dad still don't know what to think when she told me the story. I remember my heart sinking, my stomach twisting. I was immediately filled with dread. My mom got goosebumps retelling it. She had spent a good few days deciding if she even should tell me. Thankfully, my mom doesn't go outside alone anymore after dark and pays full attention. Candle lighting while away for weekend. A few days ago, I found a brand new candle that my boyfriend bought about a year ago. I saw that the candle was flat and the wick was white, so I didn't light it in case my boyfriend wanted to save it or regift it or something. So I set it on our TV stand. My boyfriend came home that night and I showed him the candle and he was excited to see it again. That was that. I set it back on the TV stand and we went away for the weekend to visit family. We came home and I walked by the candle and noticed the wick was black and it looked like it had been lit. It was melted in layers, so it looks like it had been lit 3 separate times. I picked it up and asked him if he lit it before we left, and he said no. And I know that I intentionally did not light it because it wasn't my candle. So somehow, while we were gone, the candle had been lit. For context, we live in an apartment where nobody has access to our unit on the weekends. We looked around. Nothing is stolen, out of place or anything. There also weren't any footprints on our carpet, which was vacuumed right before we left. Okay, this is the last one. I am being protected by my spiritual protector. Milo. Guardian angels exist. I strongly feel their presence. 2 incidents I can share here, and at those times it was unexplainable and unbelievable. Incident number 1. I was driving on a 3-way busy street after work. I stopped first to turn left. As soon as I was about to turn and already pressed my gas pedal, a guy in a Mustang on my left accelerated like a racing style forward drive before me. I lifted my foot from the pedal in shock, but even before I touched my foot on the brake, bless you. I lifted my foot from the pedal in shock, but even before I touched my foot on the brake pedal already went down, suddenly stopping my car. It took me a while to process it. I almost got T-boned. I couldn't explain how an old basic car would automatically brake. It pressed down on its own. Incident number 2. I was on a busy freeway driving home without realizing that I was dozing off behind the wheel. All of a sudden, I woke up from a honk. The same time I was opening my eyes, I felt the steering wheel moved to the right to have my car back in my lane. I felt it moving away from my left hand as if I wasn't holding it. Again, I didn't have explanations. My car was so basic. No sensors. It didn't beep if cars get too close to it. Those two incidents could have been major accidents, but with the help of my guardian angel, I truly believe I am being watched. They prevent accidents from happening. Don't doubt about thinking we don't have any protectors. We do. That was nice. Maybe I take one more. A bonus one. Suddenly awoken. This is the only experience I've ever had that I couldn't find an explanation for. In 2020, I was stationed at Fort Carson and living in own post housing. The bricks, if anyone knows Carson at all. I was going through a divorce and it was only my dog and I. I laid down on my couch to take a quick nap. For context, I had a wooden coffee table that had some glass panels. My dog's bed was about 5 feet away, next to the TV. I was asleep for about 35-40 minutes and suddenly woke up to a loud bang that resembled someone slamming my table. My dog was sound asleep in his bed. My windows were closed and doors were locked. I was living alone, so there was no way it was anyone else, and there wasn't anything physically on my table that could have fell over and made the noise. I'm also a pretty heavy sleeper, so it takes a bit to get me up. I chalked it up to maybe the TV or something outside and went back to sleep. 45 more minutes goes by and the same thing happens. Loud bang from the coffee table. This time I wake up and see my dog at the bottom of my stairs looking up, hair raised and extremely alert. My dog is very calm, extremely friendly and never gets aggressive. I hope these were interesting to listen to. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up and some nice comments, and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done that. I hope to see